It is the 6th of August, and Josh Robbins from The Athletic reported that the Wizards will not be offering any form of an extension to Anthony Davis before the 2026 season. We'll break down why this was the right move and more on today's Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is AJ Dybantsa, and you're listening to the Locked On Wizards podcast.
DC family, you are locked on to the Washington Wizards. I am your host, Abdullah Ayubi, and joining me today is not Ben Strover. Ben is still out there on vacation in Greece. Is 1/3 of the Chocolate City Hoops podcast, DJ. DJ and I will talk about Anthony Davis, his outlook on the 2026 season. DJ, thanks for hopping on the program today.
Appreciate you. Glad to be here. Glad to be invited back. Love it.
Man, I first off want to say the Chocolate City Hoop Summit, for those of you that missed it, had a hoop session with all of the guys that create content for the Wizards. It was amazing, DJ. I appreciate you hosting it, and next year should even be more exciting. But let's forget about that, all about that. Anthony Davis, DJ. The report came out today that the Wizards will not be offering any form of an extension. This is the right move because you need to see AD out there, be motivated, be hungry. The fact that there was some consideration of a max is kind of absurd. Maybe there's some Wizards fans that want it, but the majority of fans, I wanted to see the guy go out there and play. And he's a walking 20-10. But when you hear the no extension before this upcoming year, DJ, I think it gives you a sigh. At least a lot of Wizards fans, it was a sigh of relief because they were afraid that you saw AD an extension before he even stepped foot out there as a Washington Wizard on the court. It felt like something the old regime would do.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly what I was about to say. I mean, this is something the old regime would do, not the new regime, right? We talk about the old regime with the Jan Mahimi, right, contract. We talk about the old regime with the Davis Bertans contract. We talk about the old regime with the Bradley Beal contract, right? The max and the no trade clause, right? So, I mean, it's just a new day and age. And again, right, this is a 75 greatest player of all time, and there's no pressure to say, oh, we owe you a contract based off of past performances, right? But what we are looking at is your past availability, which has been zilch. And I don't have the stats on me right now, but Lord knows he hasn't played a full 82-game season probably since, I don't know if even ever, to be honest with you. So, or even close to 70 games in a while. So, again, it's a sign of a very mature front office. And we're not saying that, Anthony Davis isn't going to go out there and produce, right? He can produce when he's out on the court. We're saying, can you be available to produce?
Yeah, valid points. I wanted to bring up the stat that you were talking about. Davis has played 71 games over the past 2 seasons. DJ, I just feel like there is no need to guarantee any money before this upcoming year. And shout out to Ben Strober, my co-host. He put out this tweet earlier today. Only 3 players in NBA history has signed a max at their age 33 season: LeBron James, Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant. How motivated do you think Davis will be, DJ? Because a lot of people have written him off when it comes to his availability. The talent is there, like I said, walking 20-10. The mixture of him alongside this young core, is there a possibility where he can revamp his image and still prove that he still got it at 33?
Yeah, so first, real quick, those 3 players you named, right, when we talk about the 75 greatest players of all time, those guys rank significantly higher than Anthony Davis, right? So let's not get it twisted on that part either. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Anthony Davis, though, is no slouch, right? I mean, he's going to feel extremely motivated. I think, whenever you have that much money on the table and you're extension eligible, you're coming into a new destination. You know that you, yourself, and really Trae are going to be the leaders on this team. But more importantly, folks, the young guys are going to be looking at you to produce and show them how to produce on a daily night, right? Like, this is a team that needs to learn how to win on a consistent basis, not just get streaky, but learn how to win in some of those tough battles, learn how to win and beat teams that you're supposed to beat, right? I think, honestly, this feels like a repeat because now that we're done with the rebuild, it feels like those were the same conversations we were having when we were still in the Bradley Beal era and the John Wall era, where it's like, how come we're not beating the teams we're supposed to beat on a nightly basis, right? So those are the sorts of learning lessons that I expect a motivated Anthony Davis to give us, and while also producing hopefully a 20-10, or at least, let's say, 18-10 sort of night.
Yeah, these are professionals running the Sorry, guys, just had some technical difficulties. Be patient with us, DJ, on his phone right now. But like we were saying, Anthony Davis is a guy who I think can go as the Wizards will go as far as he goes. If you take Davis out of the squad, it's a different team, DJ. Let's keep it real. And I think the pairing of him and Sarr in the front court, offensively and defensively, is something that Wizards fans are definitely excited to see. As much as we love to see you locked up your point guard for the next 2 to 3 years in Trae Young, Davis is a guy who helps you in the painted area. I mean, how many years has it been since this team gets killed in the paint, losing the rebounding battle? Davis fixes that problem, and having a young guy in Sarr, and you traded for DeAndre in the offseason, you have that front court depth. You're stacking something here. You're building something here, and he has 2 years left on his contract, and it just wouldn't have made any sense to give him that much money. And everything that happened with Clutch Sports, did you think there was a possibility of him actually getting traded to Golden State, DJ?
Uh, Honestly, if there was a chance, it was probably like 20, 25%. This isn't the type of, our front office does the fleecing. We don't get fleeced, right? That's how that goes. We're not the ones who get fleeced, right? So I just didn't see it, especially with what Golden State was trying to offer, like a Jimmy Butler picks, and it's like, well, you're gonna have to give us picks like way out into the future. It didn't seem to fit with what we needed. Like, what are we gonna do with a busted up Jimmy Butler? It just didn't make sense. So no, I didn't. I gave it like maybe honestly even just 20, 15% actually. Now that I'm thinking more.
Mhm. Yeah, the report also mentioned from Robbins that any meaningful talks about a possible extension will occur during the 2027 season, not before. And it's awesome that on August 6th they say it, because every Wizards fan was eyeing this day, because this was the day where he was eligible for an extension. When it comes to the Wizards competing with Davis, him and Young, this young core, you have the first overall pick in Dybantsa. The outlook, and we'll get into the second segment as well. If this team doesn't make the play-in, especially in the Eastern Conference, DJ, would it be considered a failure of a season?
Yeah, I would think so. I think at this point in time, right, the rebuild essentially is over. We're at this point in time, we are truly looking at trying to get into the playoffs and try to at least get past the first round, I would assume. And depending on where we end up landing, I strongly believe at the height of this team's potential, especially the way that the East is falling and a lot of dominoes are kind of a lot of chess pieces are moving. I really do think that at our highest potential, we're looking at five. And at the lowest, I truly believe we're at that seven. I don't think we're at 8 seed. I think we're either the six, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7. One of those. That's where I think we're at.
Love the optimism there. A lot of Wizards fans are optimistic that this team can get back into postseason basketball. I haven't seen that since 2020 with that 1 year of Russell Westbrook, and then you got gentlemen swept by the Sixers. Sorry to bring up old bad memories. But going back to the Davis extension, I'm excited. I think this was the right move, and Michael Winger, Will Dawkins, and company, they know what they're doing. They're professionals. Like you said, they're the ones that are fleecing. They don't get fleeced. And it gives you such good hope as a Wizards fan, knowing that they have a front office doing what they're doing. They're not going out there and, like you said, giving max extensions to anybody out there. And that was the worry that, hey, this guy in Davis, who has had past success, top 75 player all time, was probably one of the greatest guys to ever play the power forward position. Obviously, the other guys out there, but he's AD, he's the brow. They're going to give him this huge contract without him even stepping on the court. And it seemed at one point he didn't want to be here because he wants to be somewhere where he can contend. But I really think, DJ, after the Wizards got the first overall pick, the culture that they're building, playing in the Eastern Conference, a roaring fan base in a lot of people's eyes, a sleeping giant, I think that kind of changes perspective. And himself saying that, talking to himself saying, I need to go out there and be that key piece for this Wizard squad. And I have a veteran, Trae Young. I have Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George. I mean, so many guys on the wing group, very versatile. As a Wizards fan, this is, in my eyes, the best news. I can't find a reason why you'd be upset that he didn't get an extension, DJ. I mean, is there a reason?
No, there shouldn't be any reason at all. I mean, honestly, this is a win-win situation for us. and it's a high risk situation for AD. I mean, let's also not get it twisted. I don't think the market for AD was going to meet the asking price that this Wizards front office was getting. Now, again, remember what I said. We do the fleecing. We don't get fleeced, right? Which is that when we got Anthony Davis, we got him on a bargain deal, right? But all of a sudden, he hasn't even stepped. Think about it. He hasn't stepped foot on the court for us. But our asking price is like, nah, like the price has gone up. Today's price, it wasn't is not yesterday's price, right? So it's a little bit different. For him, he has everything to gain, right? He probably Clutch Sports isn't stupid. They probably saw the market. They probably said, like, look, you need to play on your current deal, right? You need to show out for the Wizards. You have an opportunity here to, if you could be healthy, he does have the opportunity to be kind of like an MVP type of caliber player, right? He's the pro, like you said. So he has the opportunity to do that. He can prove himself. And worst case scenario, if things don't look great and they, maybe they're like, he's still not available, but he's playing great. Maybe you can trade him for a little bit more than what you got. But again, to me, no matter what, it's a win-win situation for the Wizards.
Indeed. We'll get deeper into it when we come back here on Locked On Wizards.
The problem of finding clothes that you can live in all day, be comfortable, and do whatever you need to do, whether it's just chilling, going to meetings, playing golf, being on the move, that problem has been solved by Cozy Earth. The everyday polo is the answer. It's lightweight, built to move with you, just easy to wear everywhere. I've got it on right now, and it's fabulous. Plus, the Cozy Earth Essential Socks, they're exactly what the name suggests. Soft, supportive, comfortable enough that you stop thinking about them halfway through the day. Plus, Cozy Earth backs everything with a 10-year warranty and hassle-free returns. So if something isn't quite right, you're covered. That makes trying them for yourself an easy decision. I've got the Cozy Earth Everyday Polo in blue and in black. Check them out at CozyEarth.com. Use the code LOCKEDON for 20% off. That's right, Locked On for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, please mention you heard about it right here, CozyEarth.com.
Here with DJ, co-host of the Chocolate City Hoops podcast. The biggest question about Anthony Davis is the health. We're going to be saying that ad nauseum, DJ. I know a lot of fans are going to get tired of hearing about it, but it's the truth for a reason. How many games do you expect Davis to play this year? What's a realistic expectation? Do you think it's possible to get that 65 mark to potentially get an award, or is that too much of a stretch?
Honestly, I'll keep this short and sweet. Anything above 50 games is a win for the Washington Wizards this season. Anything above 50 games, Anthony Davis playing should help us enough to get us where we want to be, like I said, within that playoff range.
It's funny because I always bring up the Kristaps Porzingis here, DJ, going into his Washington tenure or short tenure stint. It was labeled injury prone, couldn't stay healthy, but I think he had one of his best years as a pro and was averaging more than 20 points per game. And I'm hoping that Davis can somewhat repeat that. It just all starts with him. And since he's a motivated guy who wants to prove that he can get one last payday, I think 50 is reasonable. 65 would be amazing. If he can get 65, I think it's a possibility of getting that 5th or 6th seed. It all depends on it. I mean, he is such a huge factor, DJ. Just talk to me about how much of his ability to just be on the court and produce is going to lead this team to success. And if he's not out there, this team could barely scratch into the play-in.
Yeah. First, I'm going to go back to something that you mentioned with him playing 65 games. If Anthony Davis ends up playing 65 games, then that means the medical staff, Monumental Sports, Washington Wizards, they need a major pay raise, right? Like something, not to get too off topic, but even us playing at the Hoop Summit, I'm like, man, I'm so sore. Like that means we need to start contracting them out for the Hoop Summit or something, just so that we could recover. But yeah, what you were talking about, like what he means to be out there, like we said before, it's the leadership, right? It's I've been here, I've done it, especially if you can get an Anthony Davis, AD in the playoffs, right? It's like, hey, I've been here, I've done this. But then you're talking about on a nightly basis. Like we said, we're talking about easy, like the rebounding aspect, I think is the biggest thing for us, right? one of the things we've always seen is whether it's offensive boards, defensive boards, right? Alex Sarr, as great as he's been kind of developing, right, it's still kind of a little bit of an issue with getting kind of outpowered on those boards. Where Anthony Davis is already, he's already matured enough to he's like, no, I'm gonna get these boards, right? So we're talking about someone who can, if you need a bucket, he's gonna be the guy, right? He should be your first option realistically, with the first team. So not only the first team option, the leadership, but then the boards, and obviously, right, we know a healthy Anthony Davis is definitely gonna bring the defense as well, right? So you're talking about the sort of defense he can also kind of mentor to Alex Sarr, who's already got a super high block rating in 2K. So that's going to be really dope. And honestly, if he wasn't hurt, probably would have led the league in blocks for the entire year.
That's awesome. I love that you brought the 2K rating. I just saw that as well. Second highest, just behind Wembanyama. And you love to see that because it's hard to be above Wemby. He's an alien. When it comes to Davis's usage here in DC, DJ, how do you see the balance of shots taken between him, Young, Dybantsa, Sarr? Because there are a lot of mouths to feed on this squad.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. And I sat down with D and Damo on our podcast and really talked about that too in length. And you just kind of have to believe starting off, right? You kind of have to feed the beast, right? You're gonna have. I think Anthony Davis really is going to be that sort of headliner, right? I think there's going to be a lot that he wants to prove, and I honestly think he's going to be the one demanding the ball first. And I think Trae Young, surprisingly, I think is going to surprise people and not be as much of a usage scorer unless he has to be. Right. So I think it's going to be Anthony Davis. Then I think somewhere in between there, it's going to probably be like Dybantsa or George KG. But I think really for Trae, the focus should be just more so consistent playmaking, right? Getting everybody in the right spots and getting folks the ball where they definitely need it. So, but I think AD is going to be the first option.
I like that. When it comes to Trae Young, I've been saying it for a while that he's sort of going to take that back seat approach where he doesn't have to go out there and score 30 points like how he did in Atlanta, play Superman. He can be a better playmaker, kind of how when James Harden got traded to the Sixers, he transitioned to a really good playmaker, hopefully averaging between 10 to 15 assists per game. And we know Trae Young can do that. He's very good. He's one of the best playmakers in the league, and the stats back it up. The duo of Young and Davis on the court, great, but veteran and the presence that they've been championship pedigree. I mean, Young went to the Eastern Conference Finals at such a young age. Davis has an NBA championship under his belt. Just how important is that to have on a young Wizard squad?
Yeah, like I was saying before, it's teaching these kids how the grind of the NBA season, right? Because again, you're talking about 3 years of a rebuild, it's 3 years of losing, right? I think we've seen a lot of growth in the young core and individual growth from different, whether it's Riley. Obviously, we saw KG before he got hurt take a big step. We saw Sarr take a big step this year. Bilal in his own ways, right, defensively took another good step. There's just a ton of the young guys that really took some good steps, but the one thing that they haven't done is win, right? The other two guys have won, and we're going to be talking about that a lot this year. I believe is like we're going to be seeing again 3-game win streaks, 4-game win streaks, 5-game win streaks. And not only that, but again, going back to what I said, beating the teams we're supposed to beat, right? There's going to be a lot of teams on paper that we have better talent than, that we as Wizards fans are going to expect them now to beat, right? I think that's another thing too. We have a higher expectation of this team than we have realistically in the past. There's going to be really a lot of pressure on Brian Keefe too to really get this team to mesh between those 2 to 3 veterans that are on the team, right, that are experienced versus this young core. And as we continue to move on with the expectations now of the playoffs, right, and AJ Dybantsa said it too, his expectation, even as a rookie, is to make the playoffs, to say like, hey, right, we're going to get into the playoffs. He already has a veteran mentality. So, you could almost say AJ is kind of like a veteran in his mind, right? And then Trae and AD, those are the cats that you need in order to make those runs in the playoffs and teach you like, hey, playoffs are a different animal. They're a different beast. Y'all haven't been here before, but guess what? We have. We're going to tell you everything we know.
Yes, sir. We are talking about playoffs. I love that Dybantsa has brought that up ever since he's gotten drafted here. When we come back, we'll talk about Davis a little more. We'll even talk about Brian Keefe, how short his leash is as a head coach, all that and more when we come back. Today's episode of Locked On Wizards is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp has been a widely used online therapy platform, and today the focus is on why so many people continue to choose it. If you're curious, you can actually see what people are saying by visiting BetterHelp.com/reviews, where real customer reviews are updated every day. BetterHelp has an average live therapy session rating of 4.9 out of 5 based on more than 1.7 million client session reviews, and hearing directly from people who have used the service helps paint a clear picture on why so many continue to recommend it. More than 6 million people globally have used BetterHelp. To get started, you answer a few questions, get matched with a therapist based on your needs, and if it's not the right fit, you can switch therapists at any time. BetterHelp therapists have at least 3 years and 1,000 hours of hands-on experience, along with the required education, training, and certifications. And if you want, you can go check out the reviews. Many people leave them, read them, do your research, and then find out which therapist suits you. See the reviews, see what stands out, and see if BetterHelp is right for you. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. Anthony Davis is the best player on this Wizard squad right now, DJ. I don't think you could argue that. Hopefully, by the end of this year, Dybantsa will prove that he can be the better player moving forward because he is that franchise player, the first overall pick. We talk about all of these guys. We have the talent, but the guy leading it all is Brian Keefe. And a lot of people, especially last year, thought that you kind of have to pull the plug. But if you look at it from the other lens, he wasn't given a fair shot because you're bottoming out on purpose. You're trying to get a really high pick to get a guy like Dybantsa. How much tolerance do you have if this team starts off really slow this upcoming year, DJ, if you see another double-digit game losing streak? Because in my opinion, you can't have another 10 or even more, like 6-7 game losing streak, especially since you expect this team to go out there and compete.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall this is it, right? And I wouldn't say the leash is short, but again, like you're saying, if we do see some sort of losing streak like that, and it seems as though we're not making the playoffs, then yeah, for sure, you need to cut him loose. But yeah, I think it's a little bit unfair, right? Because again, he got brought in specifically for a rebuild, right? Brian Keefe's kind of like call to grace is really his quote unquote development, right? We saw that Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant gave him all the praise as far as his development skills, and gave him the sort of nod to say like, hey, if it wasn't for him, I probably even wouldn't be the player I am today. So I think his call to grace has always been development. He's had the rebuild time to do that, but the rebuild's over, right? So now, right, not only have the young guys figured out how to play in the NBA, now you've figured out how to be a head coach in the NBA, hopefully. So this is his real test year, right? If he's not up to snuff and up to the challenge, then more than likely we're going to be talking about somebody else coming in and being the Wizards head coach next season.
They brought in Patrick Ewing, Steve Clifford, trying to change things up. Going back to AD, DJ, who do you see benefiting the most from playing alongside him?
Man, that's initially I was gonna say Trey, but I think it's really gonna be Sarr. I think Sarr is gonna be able to finally go kind of back and forth between that 4 and 5. You're right. He's always said he wants to play the 4. But Anthony Davis likes to play the 4 as well, right? Sometimes Anthony Davis's best ball is playing at the 4. So I think it's going to be Sarr though. It's just going to learn how to play as a big man, learn kind of like that mentality, playing better defense. Yeah, I'll go with Sarr.
Yeah, I agree. I think those two as a front court duo are definitely deadly on both sides of the ball. I want to talk about the other young guys and Will Riley, Trey Johnson. What's your outlook on them going into their sophomore year? It sucked. No Jameer Watkins. He tore his ACL in the summer league. Now those two guys are the ones that are going to be playing from that 2025 draft class. Who do you see having a bigger role now that this team is going to go out there and play competitive basketball?
And first, I got to say, Jameer Watkins was my favorite player from last year. Just that dog mentality and the way that he played. Right, it's unfortunate that he's not going to be playing this season. But I'd go and say um, probably Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson will probably have the biggest impact just from the sense of more than likely he won't be starting, but he'll probably be either that first or second guy off the bench, really for volume scoring. So I definitely see, right, if we're talking about holistically, right now we have like a almost really like an 11-man rotation, but when you get into the playoffs, that rotation shrinks. Where depending on what happens with Will Riley's continued development, maybe he's playing backup point guard sometimes in certain lineups. But I think the consistent is going to be Trey Johnson. I think Trey Johnson is going to be asked to kind of be that sixth man this year, and really have some really good volume scoring games. I wouldn't be surprised if you know, Trey Johnson goes out there and just maybe one game out of the season, he gets 40 or above. I really wouldn't be surprised.
I think on 2K, if I'm not mistaken, I saw that he got a high mid-range rating, right? I think I don't know what the rating is, but I saw that. DJ, this was fun. Talked about Davis, talked about the outlook of this year. When it's all said and done, how many games do you see this team winning?
You know, call it ambitious. I actually think the team will flirt with a 50-win season again.
50.
Just
Oh,
right
sorry.
under. Just we'll
50.
flirt with 50.
Okay,
We'll
okay.
flirt with 50. I think we get just shy under, and maybe we hit like 45, 48 wins.
I personally love the optimism. This is what we need, DJ. I think you need the fans back at Capital One Arena. I'm tired of going to every game and seeing so many away fans, especially Knicks fans. I mean, it was something else when I saw New York Knicks fans come and take over and yelling out F Trae Young in our own house. I mean, it sucked to see that, but I think winning is definitely going to change it up. I mean, winning cures all. DJ, I appreciate you hopping on. This was fun. Let the people know where they can find you before we head on out.
Yeah, you can go to Chalk City Hoops on X, Twitter, whatever you still call it. But our main platform is YouTube. Myself, D, Damo. We try to put out an episode every 2 weeks now. So, and our latest video, the Chocolate Hoop Summit, where your boy AB has some nasty highlights. He was over there cooking at the Hoop Summit. So make sure to go check out that latest video on YouTube, Chocolate City Hoops.
Very few highlights. I'll say that, DJ. Thank you guys for listening to another episode of Locked On Wizards. The biggest news of today is that there is no extension for AD, and we won't see one hopefully until next year. We'll get a hungry Davis. Go Wiz.